Okay, Gran was living outside of Miami, several miles, kind of out in the country, and there was a long drive up to the house, and so she was driving up that drive toward the house, and she looked over and out in the field. She saw, I guess, what you would say was a UFO. I mean, she saw something come down into that field, and I don't think she was afraid or anything like that, but she said, it came down, and she just kind of stopped in the car to watch it, and then, after a few minutes or whatever, then it was gone. So, there was that incident. I forgot all about that. But then when she bought this house in town from, what was his name? Flory, I don't know, I guess it doesn't matter. Anyway, the man that she bought the house from after leaving the relic patch, his wife had passed away in that house. And so anyway, time went by and all of that, and she said she never ever felt afraid, or she never experienced anything like, say, I did or your sister did. Now she said that the dogs would look like from the living room into the dining room or whatever. She said the dogs would always look in that direction, and sometimes it would be like they were looking at something, kind of looking up and looking down, movement with their head up and down. And I don't think that really scared her or anything like that, but that was all as far as her experience would be, in compared to, say, mine or your sister's. And I know, finding out later that through all the times making that trip over there and going to Gran's, not knowing until later on that not that your sister wasn't glad to go see Gran, but it really bothered her to where when we got, say, close to the city limits, a little bit outside of Miami, if you will, she would always have a feeling of, I guess, maybe dread, or just, just not that she wasn't happy to be going, but the feeling that she would get even before we would get to the house, it was upsetting to her. And so we were there one weekend or one holiday, and I think it was nighttime, and I think it was actually right, say, around the Christmas holiday, and so we were up and kind of preparing for the holiday, and I think coming. So we were up doing stuff, preparing, and your sister was vacuuming, and she was like vacuuming in a hallway, and then out of the corner of her eye in the living room area, she saw someone pass by. And as far as really seeing anything else other than that, I don't think she did, but it was just that feeling all the time. And like when she'd want to go into another part of the house away from maybe where we would all be, she wouldn't want to go by herself and would ask me to go with her or whatever. And then one night we were in bed, and we were back in the guest room and asleep, but in the night I felt hands on my arm shove me over in the bed, like toward your sister. And of course it woke me up, and I looked over, but I didn't see anything. And it didn't frighten me or anything like that. It just was like, it just happened. And I went back to sleep. And so then the next morning, I was telling everybody about it, and I could still feel like on my arm, like where the hands had touched me. I still had a feeling there, a sense of like just hands on my arm. I could still feel that. But I was not afraid. And then the other incident was I was in the kitchen, and knowing that your sister was still in the guest room asleep, I thought she woke up and walked down the hallway past the kitchen, but it wasn't her. So that's the only other incident, as far as I am concerned, with any experience like that at all. But I did. I mean, I thought it was your sister that was up and going to come out. We were out on the back porch and just come out there where we were. I'm trying to think. I can't really recall anymore, other than, like I said, Mother wasn't ever bothered by it or had any feelings one way or the other. And then those were really the only two experiences for me. And then, that one specifically that your sister experienced in seeing someone, and other than finding out later on, after some years went by, that it really did bother her going. And like I said, we would be just right outside of town, and she said that's, she'd start having that feeling of, I guess, dread. I don't know, just uneasy. And it wasn't, nothing against going to be with Mother, but she just always had that feeling, that sense.
Now, would that happen every time?
I think it would, from what she said when we ended up having that particular conversation at one point in time. And it upset her telling me that she got real emotional. I guess for the very reason that, it did upset her so much, and the feeling that would come over her. I felt bad for her. But then, and I don't think, to this day, I don't think she's experienced, anything anywhere else, if you will. To my knowledge, I don't think she has. So it's one of those things that, I guess it just depends on where you are and circumstances and things like that, that even though she hasn't, and I haven't either, obviously, had any experiences since then, are you still sensitive to that? And can that happen again? That's a good question. Mm-hmm. Even though nothing's happened since, and I would assume it would have to be maybe wherever you are, location or circumstances, stuff like that. But are you still, do you still have that sensitivity to that, if you will?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when she would feel that way, was it usually at a specific point on the road?
Yeah, I think it was, she ended up saying it would be, I don't know, maybe we were maybe 10, 15 minutes like out of the city limits, say. I mean, we weren't right in, we would be getting pretty close.
Pretty close to Miami?
To Miami, yeah.
Wow.
And then once we crossed over there was that overpass, crossed over that overpass, over the turnpike, and then there end up on, what's now Steve Owens Boulevard. Then when we got to that point, then, for sure she felt that. So she felt that way from that point, say on the drive, until we got to Gran's house. So, and then, then I ended up, after her talking about this and sharing all that, it made me feel bad then, thinking back, oh my gosh, all those trips we made over there, and that point in the drive, now realizing how she felt that whole time. That's
for years.
Yeah, for years.
Wow.
It made me feel so bad because I didn't know that for a long, long time. And then when we ended up talking about it one day, she was real emotional by it. I mean, understandably so. If you have that, if you being sensitive to that, if you will. I don't know how to describe it or what words to use, but just, I guess, being that aware and sensitive to that for so long.
Okay, it is Tuesday, January 28th, 6:58 p.m. And go ahead and tell those three stories, please.
Okay. The first one has to do with a little statue of Mary that I have on my dresser. And, like you have a little statue or a figurine. It faces out, faces forward. And I noticed one day, don't know what I was doing, but I noticed that the statue was turned completely around to where all you saw was the back of it instead of the front of the statue. I didn't do that. If I'd been dusting or just picking something up, the statue is very, very light, and if I had touched it or moved it, it would have fallen over rather than just completely turn around.
Right, yeah.
So there is that, and then there was another incident that it was probably at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was in bed, and I'd been asleep facing the wall and facing the window.
Which is opposite the living room.
Of my doorway that goes into the hallway into the living room.
Okay.
And so I was turning over
From your right to your left.
from my right to my left.
Yes.
And I glanced just at the doorway as I was turning over, and I could see a very, very bright light. And it didn't scare me or bother me, and now I wish I would have got up, but I didn't. I just rolled over and went to sleep. And so when I woke up the next morning, I thought, okay, that was such a bright light that it couldn't have been a car light, like a car pulling in the driveway.
Yeah, because
to the front window, because I've got my blinds shut.
Yes.
On the front window. It's a pretty big window.
And then you've also got curtains on the side, so there's no light that can creep through the sides.
Exactly. And a car light would not have given off that bright of light.
No, because you would have to do a 3-point turnaround in the street in front of your house.
Yeah. So there is that. That again, I have no explanation for. And then about 2 days ago, I had got my sewing machine out, and I was getting ready to sew. And I'm sitting down in the floor cutting the pattern out, to be able to sew. And I had my sewing machine all set up and ready to go, and it just came on and started sewing all by itself. And I was in the floor, several feet away from it, and it just started on its own.
Is there something here that just made that turn on, the REM pod? Did any one of you do that? You can call me Thomas or Tab. Who are you? Tell me who you are. Okay, so back to the sewing machine. It's got that foot pedal that you have to press down in order to make it turn on.
Yes, it does.
And obviously you didn't touch it.
And I wasn't near the sewing machine. Yeah. I wasn't there again, afraid or anything like that. I was just very annoyed, that it happened, and went over and stopped it, and then resumed what I was doing as far as cutting out the pattern, and that's been it.
Yeah. Yeah, and back to the lights. There's no way it could get that bright in your living room because you have just that one window, and your blinds are those wooden slats, and it's just
Right.
it's impossible for
And now
that to have been produced from an outside source.
and I have the blinds there. I have them raised up a bit from the window sill, but the love seat is in front of that.
Yeah.
So therefore, even in that instance, even though there is a bit of an opening, like on one side, so to speak, it still doesn't warrant that bright of a light that could shine through. Shine through.
Absolutely not, because there's just no way. Even if there was a vehicle that was parked outside of your living room
Right.
window, it wouldn't be that bright because of the wooden slats on the blinds.
Exactly.
They're not. They're solid white. They're not plastic or vinyl.
Right.
They're not those cheap little mini blinds. They're the big thick slats. Okay.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So, is there anything else that's happened?
I don't believe so. Just that light and the little statue, and then, like I said a couple of days ago, with the sewing machine, just starting on its own, if you will. That's actually been it.
Okay. All right.
That's been.
Well, that sounds
all
good. Well, it is 7:01. Are there any of you who want to say anything before I turn this equipment off? Okay, we'll go ahead and shut it down.